The Life of Geralt of Rivia. Geralt of Rivia, born 1160, was a witcher who was tied to Ciri through the law of surprise. While initially reluctant to accept his destiny, Geralt eventually came to terms with his fate. Despite their tumultuous relationship, he also loved the sorceress Yennefer of Vengerberg. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Geralt of Rivia. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Meeting Princess Renfri. Geralt of Rivia, a well-known witcher, goes into Blaviken in search of an alderman after killing a kikimora in the nearby swamp. It's there that he meets a woman named Renfri in a tavern. She greets him with beer rather than hateful looks. He eventually makes the acquaintance of Marilka, the daughter of the alderman, and she directs him to a sorcerer named Striga, who took up the name Master Irion from the long-since-deceased creator of the tower he inhabits. He lured Geralt into town to hire him to assassinate Renfri. Striga explains his reasoning behind wanting to kill Renfri. The Curse of the Black Sun, a solar eclipse that marked the imminent return of Lilith, demon goddess of the night, whose sole purpose was to exterminate the human race. Lilith's path was to be prepared by 60 women wearing gold crowns who would fill the river valleys with blood. Striga studied the girls born around the Black Sun, and he found internal mutations among them. He tried to cure them, locking them in towers for safekeeping, but each girl died. He believes eliminating them was the lesser evil. Renfri, Princess of Creighton and daughter of Fredefalk, is after Striga. He personally delivered Renfri in the middle of the afternoon under the Black Sun and knows for certain that she's the bringer of evil. In fear of Lilith's return, Striga dispatched someone to follow Renfri into the woods. They later found him in the brush with Renfri's brooch jammed in his ear. She disappeared shortly thereafter and wouldn't reappear for another 2 years. Striga would stop her himself, except for the fact that she's resistant to magic given her mutation. She chased Striga for years, plotting her revenge, and now she's tracked him to Blaviken. Despite Striga's offer, Geralt only kills monsters. Renfri, the woman from the tavern, tracks Geralt down outside Blaviken and demands to know where to find Striga so that she may kill him for the injustices she suffered, claiming that Striga's man raped her and robbed her before letting her go. However, Geralt insists that should Renfri kill Striga, she would only be confirming Striga's accusations of her being a monster. Geralt advises Renfri to leave Blaviken and Striga behind. Renfri follows Geralt back to his camp where he recounts his first monster kill with Roach, his horse. That was the day he realized the world didn't need him, and that he would only ever be seen as a monster. Renfri questions what Geralt believes in, as it is neither destiny nor the lesser evil. Geralt simply kills monsters. There are no sides. Renfri has decided to leave Blaviken for good tomorrow. They kiss and then have sex. While dreaming of his night with Renfri, Geralt hears her tell him of his future, how he would be run out of Blaviken with thrown stones, and that the girl in the woods is his destiny, one which he cannot escape. Geralt awakens alone in the woods of Blaviken. Realizing that Renfri intends to slaughter her way through Blaviken until she finds Striga, he goes into town to stop her, where he is met by her soldiers who he dispatches with ease. He then finds Renfri holding a blade to Marilka's throat, and she threatens to kill everyone in Blaviken until Striga comes down to face her. Geralt wants her to leave Blaviken, displaying magic as a means to threaten. However, magic has no effect on Renfri, only silver, as with monsters. Renfri releases Marilka and attacks Geralt. She manages to cut him several times before Geralt disarms her, leaving her only with a dagger to combat him. Geralt lowers his sword, presenting her with an opportunity to attack. However, he evades her attack and stabs her in the throat with her own dagger. As Renfri bleeds out in Geralt's arms, she reminds him of his destiny and that the girl in the woods will be with him always. Striga comes down to see the destruction left in Renfri's wake. He orders Marilka to bring him a cart so that they can take her back to the tower for an autopsy. When Geralt objects, Striga informs him that it was Renfri's mutation that allowed her to influence her followers. When Geralt refuses to lower his sword, Stregobor realizes that he must have been similarly influenced and directs attention to the men Geralt had killed. This causes the townspeople, Marilka included, to revolt against Geralt. They throw stones at him as Renfri predicted they would until he is forced to leave her body behind. An encounter with elves. While drinking at a tavern, Geralt is approached by a bard named Jaskier, who insists that Geralt review his performance. Geralt tells Jaskier that the creatures in his song don't exist, and Jaskier realizes that he's a witcher, which he announces to the bar. A patron named Netley overhears and offers to pay Geralt 100 ducats if he kills the devil that's been stealing their grain. Geralt agrees to the job, but only for 150 pay. Jaskier decides to tag along, during which time he offers to help improve Geralt's image so that he's no longer seen as a monstrous killer. While hunting for this devil, Geralt is attacked by a Sylvan named Torque. It charges at Geralt, knocking him to the ground. Geralt gets back to his feet and grabs it by the horns and slams it to the ground. To his surprise, it can talk. Rather than killing Torque, Geralt shows mercy, allowing him to live so long as he leaves the mountains. However, someone sneaks up behind Geralt and knocks him out. Geralt wakes up in a cave tied up back-to-back with Jaskier and surrounded by elves. Geralt and Jaskier are repeatedly hit by a sickly elf named Teruviel. Geralt waits until she gets close enough to headbutt her. They are joined by Torque and the king of the elves, Filavandrel. Torque has been stealing goods for them ever since they were forced out of Dol Blathanna. This comes as a surprise to Jaskier, who has been under the impression that the elves willingly left to return to their golden palaces, when in reality they retreated to simple caves. Unfortunately, he can't get Geralt and Jaskier to leave in fear that Passado will learn that they've been stealing, giving the humans a reason to attack, which will undoubtedly result in casualties on both sides. Hoping to avoid war, Filavandrel must kill them. Filavandrel's elders worked with humans and got robbed of all they had, and when they fought back, they were slaughtered in a battle that would come to be known as the Great Cleansing. Bringing his people down from the mountains would mean bowing down to the humans who would make them slaves. Geralt advises them to rebuild elsewhere. Filavandrel has a change of heart and decides to let Geralt and Jaskier go. Geralt and Jaskier leave the mountains, having been released. In return, Geralt gave them the 150 ducats he was paid to kill Torque. In this adventure, Jaskier has gained a newfound respect for Filavandrel. They survived the Great Cleansing once, and maybe they can do it again. Jaskier starts to sing a tune while Geralt follows alongside. Hunt for the Striga. Geralt has just finished having sex with a prostitute who has heard his tales from Jaskier and associate each scar with a different conquest. She informs him that another witcher by the name of Remus passed through last month on his way to Temeria, which is plagued by some kind of creature. A few miners rounded up 3,000 orens to have the creature killed. Remus supposedly took the coins and ran. Low on funds to pay for the room he'd been in, Geralt leaves Roach behind as he sets out for Temeria to find Remus. Geralt arrives in Temeria and listens in on the disgruntled miners. They accuse him of being like the Witcher before, who they believe to have taken their money and ran. Geralt only takes pay after the job is done and for a third of the price. He also extends an apology. Ostrid arrives with several of his soldiers. He demands the miners disperse in exchange for him not charging them with treason. As for Geralt, Ostrid orders his men to see Geralt out of Temeria. Ostrid's men suddenly fall off the horses and onto the ground as they near Temeria's border. A sorceress by the name of Triss Marigold reveals herself to Geralt and offers to hire him. She serves King Foltest, but she is acting under her own agenda. Rather than kill the beast, she wants Geralt's help in saving it. 6 years ago, stable hands started vanishing at the castle above the city. Before long, citizens were disappearing throughout all of Temeria. They soon realized that the creature was coming from the crypt where the king's sister Ada was laid to rest. Rumor has it that she was having an affair with a young man in town when she died, and that she was with child. If that were true, it would be the sole heir to the Temerian Empire. The king fled the castle, ignoring the rising death toll. So Triss was sent 3 months ago to kill the creature. Geralt initially believes the creature to be a different monster, but Triss informs him otherwise. She takes him to the tomb to examine the corpses of those killed by the creature. He examines Remus' corpse and comes to the conclusion that Triss covered up his death to hide the fact that the creature bested a witcher. Upon further examination, Geralt discovers that Remus is missing both his heart and liver. Only a Striga's eating habits are that selective. They're very rare and can only be created through a curse, meaning someone wanted Ada dead. Only the curse didn't stop with Ada, and it turned her daughter into a monster, meaning the Striga is also the Princess of Temeria. Triss Merigold presents Geralt to King Foltest, Lord Austreit, and Captain Segilin, with whom she pleads to enlist in Geralt's help. However, Segilin is skeptical of Geralt's claims that Princess Ada was murdered. Triss hopes that the king will allow her to search the abandoned castle for clues as to what killed her. However, they fear that Geralt will kill the princess. Geralt explains that the creature grew inside of Ada, feeding on her womb and mutating, growing for years until she got so hungry that she was forced to slither out. Essentially an overgrown abortion. The king has grown tired of their claims and commands that everyone leaves. As they exit, Geralt pushes Segilin out last and locks the door behind him. He takes this time to ask the king who is the father of Ada's child and why he never married and produced his own heir. Not to mention he's done nothing to stop the Striga. All this points to King Foltest being the father. Foltest surmises that the rumors of witchers being devoid of heart and emotion must be true in order for Geralt to accuse him of incestuous affairs with his sister, while simultaneously campaigning that he kill his own daughter. The guards break through the door and Foltest orders Geralt to leave Temeria. Geralt and Triss Merigold hide outside the abandoned castle. She asks if he's going to kill the Striga. Geralt replies that he doesn't want the miners' coins. He and Triss manage to sneak into the castle where they discover letters from the former Queen of Temeria in Ada's bedroom. The letter details Queen Sansia urging her children to end their affair. Geralt and Triss take this discovery to Austreit under the suspicion that the former queen cursed her children. Austreit claims that he was Ada's confidant and protector. He believes that Foltest raped Ada and cursed the child to cover it up. However, according to Geralt, Austreit's scent was all over Ada's sheets, old ones and new ones. He smelled what Austreit was doing in there. At this point, Austreit confesses to being Ada's lover and placing the curse on her, albeit unintentionally. Geralt asks how to lift the curse, but Austreit refuses to tell him as he wants to see Foltest punished for defiling Ada. And so, Geralt simply knocks him out with a single punch. Foltest meets Geralt at the entrance to the abandoned castle where the Striga lies. Geralt honestly answers that he doesn't know if this will work or if the princess will be normal if she's cured. All she's ever known her entire life is rage and hunger. Geralt then gives Foltest a gift to give his daughter in case the curse is lifted, but Geralt doesn't make it through the night. Foltest claims that both he and Ada initially tried to resist their urges, but what they felt was too powerful. He envies Geralt's mutation to live and never have to fall in love. Within the castle, Geralt ties Austreit to Ada's bed. Once again, he asks Austreit how to lift the curse, but he refuses, demanding that Foltest pays for what he did. Austreit reluctantly reveals that a woman was hiding from the Brotherhood. She sold him a lamb and told him to wait until the full moon and then kill it. Then he recited an elven chant and bathed in the lamb's blood until sunrise when a rooster crowed 3 times. Geralt realizes that the only way to cure the princess is to keep her out of the crypt until sunrise. The Striga rises from its crypt. Geralt leaves Austreit behind, still tied to the bed. The Striga approaches, and Austreit begs for his life, claiming to have loved Ada. He is killed nonetheless. Geralt comes face to face with the creature. He tries to entrap it with silver chains, but to no avail, the Striga breaks free. A fight ensues between Geralt and the Striga, which ultimately results in the creature being knocked unconscious. While the Striga is down, Geralt places a barrier over the entrance, preventing it from leaving. When the Striga runs for it, the barrier knocks it back. Geralt puts on some brass knuckles and knocks the Striga to the ground. As the sun rises, both he and the Striga race for the crypt. Geralt gets to it first and seals himself inside. The sun rises and the Striga has transformed into a girl. The curse is lifted. Geralt slowly approaches. She turns around and slices his throat with her claws. He bites her neck to get her off of him and passes out. Geralt awakens shortly after being healed by Triss. She informs him that the princess is fine and that King Foltest issued a statement that Lord Austreit gave his life defeating the creature. The miners are building a statue in his honor. Triss asks about Renfri, whose name Geralt uttered while sleeping. He doesn't reply, simply asking for his money. She asks if all life is to him as monsters and money. He claims that it is. She doesn't believe that. There's a vortex of fate around each of them, drawing their destiny closer with each decision they make. Triss hands him his money and returns the gift he left for the princess. Royal Betrothal. Geralt enters a tavern after killing a Selkimor. Jaskier starts to sing a tune in favor of Geralt, and the townspeople in the tavern join in, celebrating Geralt's victorious battle against the beast. Jaskier asks Geralt for a favor. In exchange for acting as his bodyguard for the night, Geralt will receive food, women, and wine. Jaskier requires protection while attending a royal betrothal, as every lord, knight, and king will be in attendance, many of which he's personally crossed, having had affairs with their lovers. Jaskier questions what happens to witchers as they age. Geralt explains that there is no after for his kind. They hunt until they get killed, and he wants nothing more than that for himself. Geralt and Jaskier enter the castle. Geralt is immediately recognized by an old associate of his, Musak. He warns Geralt that this can take all night, as every suitor near and far are vying for Princess Pavetta's hand. Musak informs Geralt that the ceremony is rigged. Krakon Crate, unbeknownst to most, is already set to marry Pavetta. Her mother, the lioness, Queen Calanthe, has already arranged it with Crate's uncle, Ice Twisek, whose proposal to Queen Calanthe was refused 3 times according to Musak. Geralt comes to Jaskier's defense as he's being interrogated by one of the noblemen, who believes he caught Jaskier having an affair with his wife. Geralt bears witness as Croc and another guest gets into an argument, both claiming to have defeated manticores. He initially claims that they're both lying, but to prevent a fight from ensuing, he suggests that maybe they encountered subspecies of manticore. Queen Calanthe inquires about his encounter with the Elves. Geralt explains that he got his ass kicked and was about to have his throat cut when Falavendrel spared his life. Queen Calanthe admires Geralt's willingness to paint himself in the shadow of his failures and invites him to take a seat by her side. Geralt explains to the queen that he's only there to protect Jaskier from vengeful kobolds. However, she hopes that should chaos ensue, that she'll be able to count on him to strategically move certain irritants. Geralt insists that he's not for hire and only there to help a friend. The queen questions why there are so few witchers remaining. Geralt explains that since the sacking of Kaer Morhen, it is no longer possible to create more of them. Geralt asks why she chooses to risk her life on the battlefield when she can rest on the throne. For the queen, there's a simplicity in killing monsters. Lord Urchion of Erlenwald interrupts the ceremony, his face hidden under knight's armor. He's come to claim Pavetta's hand in marriage. Ice knocks his helmet off, revealing a monstrous form. Queen Calanthe requests that Geralt kill him, but he refuses as Urchion is no monster. His appearance is caused by a curse placed on him. The queen orders her guards to slay Urchion instead. Urchion disarms the guards and explains to the queen that Pavetta belongs to him via the law of surprise. More of the queen's guards enter and they attack. Geralt comes to his defense. Together, they dispatch of Queen Calanthe's guards with little difficulty. An even larger fight ensues between the guests. The queen stands in the center room and commands the fighting to end. Pavetta greets Duny and reminds him that she told him to stay away. It would appear that Duny is Pavetta's secret lover. He explains that he was cursed as a young boy. He lived his whole life in misery until one day he saved Queen Calanthe's husband, King Rogner, from certain death. By tradition, he chose the law of surprise as payment. Iced recommends that the queen honor the tradition. Destiny has determined the surprise be Pavetta. Duny abandoned all hope of claiming the law of surprise when he heard the king return to find a child on the way. He knew no woman could accept him as he is. So he waited until the 12th bell when the curse breaks. He never intended to meet Pavetta, only watch from afar. But destiny intervened and they fell in love. Both Ice and Musak advise the queen to honor Destiny's wish. Geralt agrees that a promise made is a promise to be honored. Queen Calanthe seems to accept destiny, handing over her sword and extending her hand to Duny. She pulls him close, whispers, "There is no destiny," and pulls out a knife aimed at his throat. Pavetta screams out, her abilities awakening, sending everyone flying across the room. Pavetta and Duny float above the room until Geralt knocks them down. The queen announces that the law of surprise will be honored and Pavetta will marry Duny. Furthermore, Queen Calanthe herself has agreed to marry Ice. There will be 2 vows tonight. Pavetta kisses Duny and he transforms back into his human form. Queen Calanthe's blessing of their marriage lifted the curse and fulfilled the destiny. Duny wishes to repay Geralt for saving his life. Geralt chooses the law of surprise. However, he doesn't actually intend to lay claim to anything. Pavetta suddenly throws up, signifying that she's pregnant moments after Geralt claims law of surprise. Musak intends to stay and help guide Pavetta. He tries to convince Geralt to stay as well, pointing out her immense primal power. Like it or not, Geralt is bound to the family. Musak advises him against trying to outrun destiny. Geralt, however, doesn't believe in destiny, crediting Pavetta's outburst to a girl using her magic to stop her mother from gutting her lover. Nonetheless, the bond that will come into being between Geralt and Pavetta's unborn child will be extraordinary. If he dismisses it and leaves without claiming the child's surprise, he will unleash true calamity upon them all. Geralt is unconvinced and decides to take his chances. 3 wishes from a Djinn. Years have passed since the royal betrothal. Jaskier finds Geralt at the river's edge, fishing for a Djinn that is buried at the bottom of a lake. Geralt can't sleep, and Jaskier concludes that his sleeplessness is directly related to what Musak said to him about the Law of Surprise and claiming Princess Pavetta's child. Geralt pulls a bottle inscribed with a wizard's seal from the lake. Inside is the Djinn. Jaskier wrestles with Geralt for control of the bottle, unintentionally releasing the Djinn. Jaskier makes 2 of the 3 available wishes before shattering the bottle on the ground. As Geralt gathers the shattered pieces, Jaskier starts coughing up blood and the Djinn escapes. Geralt takes Jaskier to a nearby elf healer named Ciri and discovers that his afflictions are magic-based. His throat is being attacked, and if the spell's actions aren't halted as soon as possible, the effects may become irreversible, eventually resulting in death. The medicine given by the healer will provide Jaskier with a few more hours. He advises that Geralt take Jaskier to another town for help, as the only mage in close proximity is extremely dangerous. Geralt disregards Ciri's advice and sets off in search of this malicious mage, said to be imprisoned in the mayor's house. Geralt and Jaskier break into the mayor's house to find him under some kind of trance. They stumble upon a massive orgy orchestrated by Yennefer of Vengerberg, the mage of Rind. She deduces that he's a mutant, a witcher to be exact. The famous White Wolf, as she refers to him. She always imagined that he'd have fangs or horns. She questions just how powerful he is. Whatever the Djinn did to Jaskier is spreading. Should Yennefer cure him, Geralt promises to indulge her curiosity. Yennefer agrees to his terms. She states the phrase ragamuffin, and the citizens of Rind awaken from their trance, completely unaware of their actions. Yennefer has put Jaskier in a deep healing sleep. She remarks that he'll be out long enough for Geralt to bathe. She's even acquired his clothes. While Geralt bathes, she makes a point that fishing for a Djinn is an extreme remedy for sleeplessness. Geralt replies that he's desperate. Yennefer undresses and sits back to back with Geralt in the bath. She questions if all witchers are as blessed as he is, being as they're made from magic. However, as Geralt explains, it didn't make for a happy childhood. Judging by Yennefer's scars, he can tell she didn't have much of a childhood either. He accuses her of capitalizing on the political situation of Rind, though Yennefer claims that she's serving the stifled townspeople. Ultimately, they both know there's more to the other's claim than they're revealing. Fortunately for Geralt, Yennefer has decided that his company and conversation is payment enough for her services. Geralt watches over Jaskier as he sleeps. Even if he won't admit it, Jaskier is a friend, and Geralt said some things to him that he doesn't want to be the last thing Jaskier remembers. Yennefer assures Geralt that Jaskier will survive and recover his vocal talents. Geralt looks around and realizes that Yennefer is attempting to trap the Djinn. Yennefer explains that it's tied to this plane and its master. With Jaskier only making 2 wishes, Yennefer needs him to make his 3rd so that she can capture it. Geralt is taken over by the sudden smell of lilac and gooseberries. Yennefer kisses him and in that moment has full control of him. Geralt awakens in a cell with Ciri after a supposed rampage. Although he doesn't recall anything, he allegedly attacked a pawnbroker and an apothecary, both of whom are on the town council and are voting to usurp the mayor and kick Yennefer out of Rind. Yennefer had Geralt enact revenge on her behalf. Ciri tried to stop him, but the guards assumed he was there to abet. The sentence is to be cast by the same council members Geralt attacked. It is sure to be death. Ciri questions why Geralt would go see Yennefer despite his warnings. Although admittedly, he could have better prepared Geralt, who questions if Ciri is under her spell as well. But Ciri isn't under a spell cast by Yennefer, he's in love with her. A guard enters and begins attacking Geralt as they've been sentenced to death. As he prepares to finish him off, Geralt makes a wish, that the guard would burst, and he does just that. His head explodes. As it turns out, Geralt has the wishes, not Jaskier. Geralt arrives just as Jaskier is exiting the mayor's home. He realizes that Yennefer is trying to become the vessel in order to gain more power and rushes inside to prevent her from killing herself. Yennefer is struggling to maintain the Djinn. It's getting stronger because, as Geralt explains, it is he who has the wishes. Geralt refuses to make the last wish in fear that Yennefer becoming a vessel for the Djinn would have her lose control. Yennefer becomes unstable, and the house itself starts to collapse. In order to stop her, Geralt makes his final wish and the Djinn is freed. The building then caves in on them. Before they are crushed by the building around them, Yennefer manages to portal herself and Geralt downstairs. She blames him for the Djinn's escape and the mayhem it will surely wreak. Geralt informs her that Djinn are only dark creatures when they're held captive. He's certain that it won't cause much harm now that it's free. Geralt and Yennefer then proceed to have sex. Afterwards, Yennefer asks what he wished for, but Geralt does not reveal his last wish to her. Hunting a dragon. Geralt and Jaskier were approached by Borch 3 Jackdaws and his 2 Zerrikanian companions, Teia and Vea. They sought Geralt out, hoping to gain his assistance in slaying a green dragon that had landed across the border in King Nidamir's mountains. Locals spotted it and went in after it in search of treasure. They succeeded only in wounding the creature and angering it so righteously that it swooped down from its lair and set half a hillside ablaze. The king was set to marry the princess of a rival kingdom, Malior, and he's concerned with the creature's presence. So he commissioned a hunt to kill it, and the 4 teams had signed on. The winner got the dragon's treasure hoard and the title of lord over one of King Nidamir's vassal states. Geralt initially declined Borch's offer as he didn't kill dragons. However, Borch was in need of one final adventure, and he thought that killing a dragon would bring him that. With a witcher on his team, he'd be unstoppable. Joining them on the hunt were a group of dwarves and reavers. With the introduction of Yennefer and Ake of Dennesley as the 4th team, Geralt agreed to join Borch on his hunt, much to Jaskier's disapproval. Geralt and Jaskier spoke to Yennefer for the first time in years. She couldn't help but wonder why she kept running into Geralt despite walking the earth for decades prior and never meeting a single witcher. She explained that she was there to accompany Ake as he was there to slay the dragon. While on the path to kill the dragon, Geralt and Borch were only a few feet behind Yennefer and Ake. In that time, Borch realized that Geralt was in love with her. They reached the hillside scorched by the dragon, a creature that tended to avoid people. Geralt questioned why it hadn't yet left. Borch replied that the beast was becoming desperate. Jaskier suddenly came face to face with a Hurricka while picking berries for Teia and Vea. Geralt surmised that the creature was starving and of no danger to them. Ake completely disregarded him and killed it. All 4 groups decided to settle down on the mountainside. Geralt, Jaskier, Borch, Teia, Vea, Yennefer, Ake, Yarpen, the leader of the dwarves, and Boholt, the leader of the reavers, roasted the Hurricka and feasted. However, Borch warned Ake against eating a certain part of the creature, another warning that went unconsidered by Ake. "A great knight never wastes a kill," he replied. "It's why he'd make a great lord after slaying the dragon, with Yennefer as his mage." Boholt interrupted them and made a lewd remark towards Yennefer. Ake took his leave as his stomach started to gurgle after failing to heed Borch's warning. They proceeded to discuss how the rightful son of Nilfgaard had returned and started burning through the south. With Fringilla as his mage, it wouldn't be long before they tried to take Sodden. Jaskier doubted the mere existence of dragons until Geralt assured them to be real, though their numbers were dwindling. Green dragons were the most common, red dragons less so. Black dragons were the rarest. Borch added that gold dragons were in fact the rarest. Geralt retorted that they were a myth. Whether that be true or not, gold dragons met the same fate of any other dragon. They died out. Yennefer awakened the following morning to find Ake missing. Yarpen found him dead by a tree with his pants down and his throat slit. Nevertheless, the hunt continued. Yarpen suspected that reavers killed Ake, and so he knew of a shortcut across the mountains that he only shared with Geralt, Jaskier, Borch, Teia, and Vea, proposing a truce until they reached the next peak. Geralt tried to convince Yennefer to join them on the shorter path. Much like Yarpen, Yennefer suspected that Boholt killed her escort before he could accomplish the one task she needed him for. Yennefer revealed that there are certain healing properties dragons are said to possess. However, Geralt informed her that fertility cures using fresh dragon hearts were a myth. Geralt also didn't believe she'd make a good mother. Yennefer explained that she wanted her choice to bear a child back. Geralt informed her that witchers can't bear children either. They were made sterile because their lifestyle wasn't suited for a child. He then unintentionally revealed to Yennefer his child's surprise. Yarpen and his men have guided Geralt, Jaskier, Yennefer, Borch, Teia, and Vea to a fairly narrow path lined with wooden boards alongside the mountain. A tight squeeze for anyone larger than that of a dwarf. The board broke beneath Borch's feet and he falls, as does Teia and Vea. The only thing preventing them from plummeting to the ground was Geralt holding on to the other end of the chain. Borch told Geralt to let him go. When Geralt refused, Borch let go of the chain, followed shortly by Teia and Vea, and the 3 of them disappeared within the fog as they fell to the ground below. Jaskier told Geralt that he did his best to save them. There wasn't much he could do. He suggested that they give up on the hunt, and asked Geralt to give him another chance to prove himself as a worthy travel companion. Geralt entered Yennefer's tent, which she had placed a spell on to make much larger on the inside than on the outside. Yennefer admitted to being worried for Geralt on the mountain. Her scent was mesmerizing. The moment he dreaded most every time she left is when it faded. Yennefer reminded Geralt that it was he who left first in Rind. She woke up in the destroyed house and he was gone. Geralt asked for forgiveness and kissed Yennefer. After having sex, Yennefer questioned if the rumors were true about witchers being devoid of human emotion. Geralt explained that it was false. People say whatever justified despising his kind. If the choice had been up to him, Yennefer wondered what Geralt would have been instead of a witcher. Much like Geralt, Yennefer didn't have much choice in being a mage. She always dreamed of becoming important to someone someday. Geralt assured Yennefer that she was important to him. Yennefer woke up the following morning to find Geralt still at her side. At a quick pace, they could make it back to the pensive dragon before sundown. However, Yennefer had no intentions of turning around. She was still intent on killing the dragon. She then rushed off to the dragon's cave after noticing the dwarves were already ahead of her. Geralt eventually caught up to Yennefer in the cave, only to find out that Téa and Vea were alive and the green dragon was dead. But she was not alone. Enter the gold dragon, who revealed itself to be Borch. When the dragoness was injured, her cry was heard by villain Traitenmirth. But the egg could not be moved or the life inside it would die, which is why she attacked instead of fleeing. She was protecting her baby by scaring the people away from her and her egg. That's when Borch, Téa, and Vea heard about the king's hunt and realized they had to keep their enemies close. So, Borch came to find Geralt, the knight who was taught to save dragons rather than kill them. Boholt and his gang of reavers arrived, forcing Geralt, Yennefer, Téa, and Vea to defend the dragons. Geralt and Yennefer defended one entrance to the cave, while Téa and Vea defended the other. They are faced with Boholt and one remaining reaver. Yennefer made sure that it was her who killed Boholt. Afterwards, Borch paid off Yarpen and his men, offering them teeth belonging to the green dragon to take to the king as proof of its demise. Borch thanked Geralt and Yennefer for all their help in defending him and his family. He noted that he sees why Geralt didn't want to lose her. Yennefer questioned the meaning behind this, and Geralt revealed that he was referring to Rind and their encounter with the Djinn. That was why they couldn't escape each other, because Geralt wished for it. Yennefer took that to mean that her feelings for Geralt were also magic, though he insisted that wasn't true. An argument ensued, resulting in the two parting ways. Borch saved them both a lot of hurt with a little pain now. He revealed that Yennefer would never regain her womb, and Geralt would lose Yennefer. Borch informed Geralt that he was still missing his legacy and destiny. Geralt grew angry and blamed Jaskier for all his recent troubles. The child's surprise, the Djinn, all of it could be traced back to him. Geralt exclaimed that if life could give him one blessing, it would be to take Jaskier off of his hands. With that being said, Jaskier would get the story from the others to write his song, and departed. Imprisoned in Cintra. Geralt arranged a meeting with Musak to ensure his child of surprise was healthy and being taken care of. Musak informed him that Princess Cirilla had been raised by Calanthe since her parents died. Pavetta and Duni's ship was lost at sea. Geralt warned Musak that he saw an army of Nilfgaard's soldiers making camp at the Amelia Pass. Musak assured Geralt that the queen had done everything she could to ensure her family's safety. Geralt suddenly spotted men moving through the tunnels. He suspected that Calanthe got word of his arrival and sent assassins to kill him. Surrounded and outnumbered, Geralt held Musak hostage. In order to get him, they'd first have to kill Musak. They charged with their weapons, and so Musak was forced to portal himself and Geralt to safety. Geralt and Musak confronted Calanthe. Geralt had been away for 12 years and planned on staying that way until Calanthe sent 8 men to kill him. Geralt came to protect Ciri, who Calanthe raised on her own. When Calanthe tried to buy Geralt off, Musak interjected that money can't undo the law of surprise. Kings who have tried to outbid destiny ended up on pikes. Danik and Laszlo drew their swords as Geralt approached. He advises Calanthe to give the child over to him if she had any doubt in her mind that Ciri wasn't safe in Cintra. Geralt promised to take her, protect, and bring her back unharmed. Calanthe reluctantly agreed and exclaimed to the townspeople that the law of surprise had been called. Geralt entered Calanthe's chambers to meet Ciri. Unbeknownst to him, Calanthe had no intentions on giving her up, and instead disguised someone else's child as Ciri and handed her over to Geralt. Musak watched on silently. Calanthe then told Geralt that she'd summon him when Ciri was ready to leave. Geralt exited Calanthe's chambers and followed the passageway through a hidden door that magically opened. The tunnel led him outside of the castle, where the girl impersonating Ciri was saying goodbye to her friends, the real Ciri being amongst them. Geralt confronted Calanthe after realizing that she tried to send him off with a girl that wasn't Princess Cirilla. Calanthe insisted that Ciri was safe with her until the day came that she would take over the throne. Furthermore, she refused to give Geralt's words any further thought. The last time she listened to him, she let a hedgehog into her court, which ultimately resulted in Pavetta's death. Calanthe refused to lose Ciri the same way she lost Pavetta and ordered ice to get Geralt out of her kingdom. Geralt recalled when Ice honored the law of surprise. Ice explained that this was before he had a granddaughter. Assuming Cintra was attacked by Nilfgaard, Ice would be right by Calanthe's side. Geralt accused him of putting too much faith in the queen, but he wasn't there when Pavetta died. Calanthe would wake up howling in the night, the lioness nearly broken. Someone that was able to pull themselves out of that would have Ice confidence until his final day. He asked Geralt to promise that he wouldn't come back. When Geralt refused, Ice trapped him behind bars. Geralt plotted his escape while trapped in the dungeon of Queen Calanthe's castle as Nilfgaard invaded. He attacked one of the guards and freed himself from his cell. Geralt made it outside where he disposed of several Nilfgaard invaders. Geralt watched from the shadow as the Nilfgaard army took Cintra. Suddenly, he heard a loud thud. Upon investigation, he discovered it was the queen. She jumped out of her window to her death. Geralt ran back into the castle to find Ciri. Instead, he found several Nilfgaard soldiers, all of whom he murdered when they refused to tell him where to find her. Bitten by a Ghoul. Cintra went up in flames in the aftermath of the Nilfgaard attack. Geralt remained in the castle, still in search of Princess Cirilla. He left the kingdom after realizing that she was already gone. During his travels, he came across a decimated Cintran refugee camp. There, he crossed paths with a merchant named Jurga, giving them a proper burial. Geralt sensed danger and advised the man to leave the grounds. Instead, Jurga stayed to ensure the bodies were properly laid to rest. In doing so, he was attacked by ghouls who emerged from the ground beneath his feet. Luckily, Geralt returned to save Jurga, but he was bitten in the process of slaying the creatures. The bite took effect almost instantly and Geralt passed out. Jurga traveled through the woods of Sodden with Geralt going in and out of consciousness on the back of his carriage. The ghoul bite made him delirious, but he was still alive. In his delirious state, Geralt recalled moments with his mother, Vizenna, where she instilled in him a moral code. We must live and let live. Geralt awakened on the back of Jurga's carriage. He inquired about the nearby explosions. Jurga informed him that Nilfgaard was attacking Sodden. Geralt then drank a black elixir from his bag and poured some on his wound. He requested that Jurga take him to the Blue Mountains where someone would be able to save him. In his delusional state, he recalled more memories with his mother. With him on the back of the carriage that she steered, she stopped and asked him to get water from a nearby creek. By the time he returned, his mother was gone, but Vesemir was waiting for him. Still infected by his ghoulish bite, Geralt's condition worsened. He began hallucinating Renfri and Yennefer. Lastly, he hallucinated actually seeing his mother. She explained that he was saved by his pulse, which was 4 times slower than that of a normal man. She heard a merchant's cry for help and decided to help as healing was her profession. She said to him, people linked by destiny will always find each other. Geralt grew so angry at the sight of her. He asked if she liked his eyes, and if she knew what they did to witchers to improve their eyes. It didn't always work. Only 3 out of 10 boys survived the trial to become a witcher. He questioned his mother if she knew this when she gave him up to Vesemir. She told him not to ask any more questions as the answers would only hurt them both. Instead, she urged Geralt to find Princess Cirilla. Geralt awakened from his sleep, asking Jurga where the woman went, but she was never actually there. He then asked how far is Jurga's house from Sodden, to which he replied an hour on a swift enough horse. Geralt hopped on the back of Jurga's carriage and headed for Sodden. While Jurgas can't repay Geralt for saving his life, he can offer him the law of surprise. Jurga arrived home with Geralt on the back of his carriage. Zola, his wife, told Jurga how she met an orphan girl in the woods nearby. Hearing Jurga's conversation with his wife reminded Geralt of Renfri telling him to find the girl in the woods. Geralt jumped off the back of the carriage and into the woods, where he met Ciri for the first time as she ran into his arms. People linked by destiny will always find each other, he says to her. She then asked, who is Yennefer? Lifting Nivellen's curse. After learning of Yennefer's death at the Battle of Sodden Hill, Geralt and Ciri sought refuge from an old friend of his, Nivellen, who had been cursed by a priestess and turned into a beast after trashing the temple of the lion-headed spider while high on godflesh mushrooms. Geralt and Nivellen met many years ago when he was hired by Nivellen to get rid of their wyvern infestation. Nivellen tried to prove himself to his father by killing one first, but instead fell into their lair. Luckily, Geralt saved him and slayed the wyvern. He then handed Nivellen the wyvern's head and told his father that Nivellen was the one who killed it. Hoping to get some answers from Nivellen, Geralt and Nivellen played a drinking game. They threw daggers at a portrait of Nivellen's father, and whoever missed had to drink and tell a truth. Unfortunately for Geralt, he missed every throw, whereas Nivellen had near-perfect aim and asked what changed Geralt after willingly spending so many lifetimes alone. Geralt revealed that her name is Yennefer, but she unfortunately died as far as he is aware of. Geralt then pulled his own knife from his boot and hit the portrait spot on, uncovering the fact that Nivellen was cheating with magic knives and leading Geralt to question what he was hiding. Upon discovering that there was a Bruxa nearby, Geralt warned Ciri to leave the house and followed the sounds of her purring to Nivellen's room, where she is draining his blood from him. A fight ensued, which eventually led outside, where Geralt managed to wound Verena before beheading her. It was then that not only was Nivellen's curse broken due to the death of his true love, but that he revealed the real reason behind his curse. He raped the priestess. Returning to Kaer Morhen. Geralt and Ciri arrived at Kaer Morhen, where he reunited with his Witcher brethren and was lightly scolded by Vesemir for claiming his child Surprise and bringing her within their walls. It wasn't long after her arrival that Ciri began pushing to start training, but Geralt warned her that it was too dangerous, and that despite her hatred for the Black Knight, they don't kill out of fear, but rather to save lives. After getting into a minor altercation with Eskel, which nearly turned violent, for bringing whores into their home, it was up to Geralt to save him upon discovering that he had been infected and turned into a Leshy. Geralt was pinned to a wall, but he used a torch to get free of Eskel's grasp. With help from Vesemir, they were able to restrain him using hooks connected to chains. However, when Vesemir's life is nearly squeezed from him, Geralt set his sword ablaze and stabbed Eskel in the heart, killing him. This close call within the walls convinced Geralt that it was time to teach Ciri how to defend herself. Laying Eskel to rest. Geralt and Vesemir carried Eskel's body to a cave where they laid his body to rest. Geralt felt as if the continent was evolving underneath their feet. Still, Vesemir was determined to figure out what happened and what he could have possibly missed in his tests. As the wolves arrived to consume Eskel's flesh, Geralt and Vesemir made their way out of the cave. They returned home where they discovered Ciri on the Witcher training course, which she nearly completed until she stumbled and hit the ground at full force. As Geralt patched her up, he told Ciri that just because she could do anything doesn't mean that she had to, as Ciri wasn't afforded the same healing ability as Witchers. Geralt and Ciri followed the pull in her body as it led them to the very same Leshy in the woods that infected Eskel. However, they watched as the Leshy was ripped apart by a much bigger, deadlier, and unfamiliar creature. Geralt told Ciri to run whilst he fended the creature off, but the creature seemed particularly interested in Ciri. It chased after her, but Geralt came to the rescue, beheading the beast with his sword. Investigating the Monolith. Geralt continued his training of Ciri, with the duo scaling mountains, walking across rocks, and running through the woods, where he reunited with Triss, who he invited to Kaer Morhen to help train Ciri, who likely inherited an evolved version of her mother's untrained magic. However, Ciri hadn't exhibited any typical indicators of chaos. She only seemed to have the power of foresight, as well as a pull that led them to the Leshy, leading Geralt to suspect that the creatures could have been sent by a mage. And so Triss performed a test to determine any signs of mutagenic alchemy, but they wouldn't have results until morning. Until then, Triss proposed that she and Geralt stay together for the night, but he turned her down. The following morning, Triss confirmed that there was no evidence of mutagenic alchemy. However, they uncovered stellacite, like from a monolith, both inside the Leshy that turned Eskel and the creature Geralt killed, meaning they came from the same place, more specifically the same monolith. It was then that Ciri revealed that when Nilfgaard attacked Cintra just outside the city walls, she caused a monolith to topple with her scream, which Geralt decided to investigate for himself, with help from Istredd, who Triss portaled Geralt to. Geralt informed Istredd of his discovery, and how he suspected that a new subspecies of monsters were emerging from a stellacite tower just outside Cintra, and that monsters were nesting in the subterranean structure for years. With this theory in mind, they decided to investigate and crawl down into the subterranean, where there wasn't a nest or any evidence of life. Historians have always theorized that monoliths were scars from the conjunction of the spheres, but monsters didn't exist on their plane before the conjunction. All species were on different planes until the spheres merged into one. A conjunction like that would have required two things: a massive surge of energy and conduits to channel it, leading Istredd to suspect that the monoliths were actually conduits, meaning their monoliths were calling to the original spheres, opening a gateway between the spheres and the continent. Istredd wanted to know how Geralt knew the monsters and monoliths were linked, but Geralt was reluctant to tell him anything as he didn't trust Istredd, who in a moment of transparency revealed that he actually came to Cintra in search of Yennefer. It's from Istredd that Geralt learned that she was still alive. Suddenly, Geralt heard Ciri's scream and her cry for help. However, they were forced to take cover as shards of stellacite began flying at them. This resulted in a portal opening and a Chernobog of some kind emerging and flying away. Geralt portaled back to Kaer Morhen, where he stopped Vesemir just before he could inject Ciri with a new Witcher mutagen. She wanted to be a Witcher so that she no longer had to feel the pain of her past. However, Geralt explained that no one could forget who they were, including Witchers. Their best chance was to kill the hatred they held onto and move on. Reuniting with Yennefer. Geralt and Ciri hunted down the Chernobog that escaped from the Monolith. Unfortunately, this encounter doesn't go as planned, and Roach is left badly wounded, leaving Geralt with no other option but to put her out of her misery. The duo proceeded to stage a trap for the beast that killed Roach. Ciri climbed up on top of a rock to lure the Chernobog in. Just when it was nearly within reaching distance of her, Geralt appeared and killed the beast, shoving his sword through its chest. Geralt and Ciri arrived at Melitella's temple. Graduates of the temple school are known to become midwives, historians, healers, and witchers. Vesemir sent Geralt here when he was about Ciri's age to learn signs. They were joined by Nenneke, who embraced them both and took Ciri to her office. And after a chance to speak with her, Nenneke explained to Geralt that he was screwed no matter what. Kingdoms would want her for her status. Thousands had been killed in pursuit of her already, not to mention her elder blood. Nenneke believed that she was a child of destiny and that Geralt and Ciri were a part of one another. Geralt needed to find balance, and then maybe he might stand a chance of helping her. While at the temple, Geralt was reunited with Yennefer. They kissed but were interrupted by Ciri, who Geralt revealed was his child Surprise. The last time they saw each other was a bit tumultuous. Yennefer questioned what changed his mind about claiming Ciri. Many things changed his mind, and Yennefer was among them, he admitted. Yennefer revealed that she ran into Jaskier in Oxenfurt. He was in some kind of trouble with a mage using fire magic who was looking for Geralt and Ciri. Yennefer's heart had been beating fast the entire time. She was nervous, and Geralt questioned why. The reason being that some wounds refused to heal, she explained. When Geralt and Yennefer discovered that the temple was under attack, they found Ciri surrounded by fire and in the path of Rhines and the Michelt brothers, who Geralt slaughtered whilst Yennefer and Ciri hid in a room. Geralt killed the brothers, but Rhines managed to escape. He caught up to Yennefer and Ciri just in time to watch them go through a portal. Hunting down Yennefer. After finding Redanian crowns on the bodies of the Michelt brothers, Geralt apologized to Nenneke for bringing death to her temple, as the men were after Ciri, who he needed to find. Geralt is then portaled to Oxenfurt by Nenneke, where he broke Jaskier out of jail and asked for his help in tracking down Yennefer. From Jaskier, Geralt learned that Yennefer was on the run after losing her magic. However, when she was imprisoned in the whorehouse, he recalled her magically disappearing after muttering an incantation about a hut, leading Geralt to come to the conclusion that she was in league with the Deathless Mother, also known as Voleth Mare, who was imprisoned by the first Witchers and entombed in a hut, as she was a demon that fed on pain. On the other side of the stream, Geralt and Jaskier reunite with Yarpen Zigrin and his crew, whom Geralt asked to borrow a horse from, for which he would pay Yarpen double when he found some coin. Before long, they arrived outside of Cintra, where they found Ciri and Yennefer under attack of Nilfgaard. After killing the guards, Geralt drew his blade on Yennefer, who apologized for her betrayal. Geralt intended to stay behind and kill the Deathless Mother, while Jaskier took Ciri back to Kaer Morhen. With the blade to her neck, Yennefer recited the incantation, but when they arrived at her hut, they discovered that Voleth Mare had escaped her prison. Saving Ciri. Geralt returned to Kaer Morhen with Yennefer, who tried to plead her case and apologize for her actions, but Geralt wasn't interested in hearing her out. They headed inside, where they discovered that Ciri had been possessed by the Deathless Mother. They found her in Vesemir's room, where she attempted to pretend as if she was Ciri, but Geralt saw through her ruse and she sliced his face before running off. Geralt reasoned with Vesemir that killing Ciri was not the answer to his rage, in response to the Deathless Mother killing some of the Witchers in their sleep. Geralt reminded him that Witchers didn't kill out of fear, they killed to save lives. She could be saved, Geralt assured him, but he'd need Vesemir's help to do it. They found Voleth Mare in the cafeteria standing before the medallion tree. Geralt offered himself up in exchange for Ciri, but Voleth Mare didn't desire him. The Deathless Mother unleashed a scream so loud that it cracked the medallion tree open and unveiled the monolith hidden inside. She then shattered the monolith before opening a portal for two basilisks to exit, forcing the Witchers to defend their home, while Vesemir and Yrden trapped Geralt and Voleth Mare inside a barrier together as Geralt attempted to get through to her. Another basilisk exited the portal and charged for Geralt, pushing him outside the cafeteria as they fought on the bridge. Geralt fortunately managed to get the upper hand and slay the beast before rushing back into the cafeteria, where Vesemir then stabbed Ciri, but she healed herself within seconds. Geralt then realized that their hate is the pain she needed to grow stronger. Instead of fighting, he pleaded with Ciri to hear his words and gain control, but without her hut, the Deathless Mother needed a vessel to exist within their sphere. So Yennefer sacrificed herself, slit both her wrists, and summoned Voleth Mare, which caused the Deathless Mother to be transferred to Yennefer. When Ciri finally regained consciousness, she pulled herself, Geralt, and Yennefer into the portal temporarily. They arrived at Voleth Mare's homeworld, where she was released from Yennefer and joined the ranks of the Wild Hunt. Yennefer was whole again. She felt it come back when she sacrificed herself for Ciri. Geralt didn't forgive her, yet he wanted Yennefer to join them and use her knowledge of magic to help train Ciri, as she was the only person who helped her control her power. Geralt recalled Villentrenmirth saying that they were made for each other, destined for each other, but that nothing would come of it because destiny alone wasn't sufficient. Something more was needed. Geralt believed that Ciri was that something more. He and Yennefer then joined Ciri on the bridge and assured her that they'd see her along the way of her destiny. Geralt now understood what the Deathless Mother wanted from her. She's been on their continent since the Conjunction and simply wanted to get home to her sphere. What he can't figure out is how Nilfgaard knew about Ciri before anyone else. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.